The honeymoon is over. Time to get back to real life. And that means more fighting, more chaos, and more horrible extended analogies like the one I'm going to use in this video. The point we're trying to get to here is, if streaming is moving into a different phase, what does that mean for you and me, the lowly viewers of all that sweet, sweet content? Well, we're going to get there. First, let's back up. The occasion for all this is a New York Times article by Shira Ovide about how the honeymoon phase of streaming is over. It's an interesting article, and I encourage you to give it a look. And also, shout out to viewer Andrew Graining, who sent over the article in question. You can do that too if you follow me on Twitter. I love getting this stuff you guys send to me. Now, I don't tweet much, but my DMs are always open. Anyway, the gist of this article, and dozens more like it, is that, the honeymoon phase is over for streaming thanks to Netflix's 2 consecutive quarters of subscriber loss rather than gain. It's definitely sent shockwaves through the industry. Everybody panicked. Stock prices tanked. The end times were upon us. Dogs and cats living together. You get the idea. But really, we're just finally firmly in the next phase of our relationship with streaming. Now, for the purpose of this extended and stupid metaphor, we need to know what the relationship phases are. And if you Google it, you'll find 18 million different examples of people who have their own relationship phases or their ideas of how it works. But we're all kind of familiar with the basic structure, right? You've got the honeymoon phase. Step 2, you've got the power struggle, the who's in charge here in this relationship. And then you get to phase 3, which is stability, where you learn to accept each other. Commitment, which is conscious commitment. And then finally, bliss, relationship bliss, right? That's what we all aspire to, even with our streaming. But like I said, really it's a horrible analogy because it's not just streaming companies and viewers, it's more like a throuple, because you gotta throw investors in there, and then you've got the occasional fling with domestic and foreign regulatory agencies and so on and so forth. Spicy stuff, really. But if we use the analogy for now, when we were in that honeymoon phase, it was sweet. Netflix promised us infinite entertainment, and back then it was like, $7 or $8 a month, right? Sweet. Sling TV promised us the holy grail of a la carte TV. Well, it never really delivered on that, and neither did anyone else, but for a while it seemed like maybe they could do it, or something close to it. Now, Netflix is losing subscribers, and while that probably won't last very long, they'll get back to growing soon, but it has made them look mortal. And now the entire streaming industry does too as a result. So the honeymoon is over. But what does it mean that we've moved on to phase 2, the power struggle phase? Well, it means that instead of seeing only the strengths of streaming, we're all starting to see its flaws as well. Now, a lot of us individually have been here for a while. And I'm looking at you, salty YouTube commenters. But I mean, collectively, the relationship is starting to lose some of its initial shine. Now, in a real relationship, power struggles are difficult, but pretty straightforward. In this terrible, tortured metaphor, it means that things are probably going to get weird and kind of ugly again for a while. Over at these streaming companies, budgets will be slashed, quality will go down, prices will go up, advertising will become even more commonplace than it is now, and so on. At least that's one way it could look. But that chaos is going to look different at each streamer, so don't expect the same thing from every single one of them, as they continue competing for your attention. Now, that New York Times article quotes one Hollywood agent saying, "The drunken sailor's spending days are gone." And I'm sure that's true for Netflix. They've made that very clear, and might be true for HBO and others like them. For some companies, though, spending will probably still be nuts for a while. Apple and Amazon, for example, use streaming in a different way than those others as far as how they use it to turn a profit. So we're going to see a lot more spending out of them, at least for the next little while. But the point is, the result of all of this malaise in the industry will be a lot of chaos, and that will make our lives difficult for a while, as we try to just sit down and watch TV, but we discover that it's more expensive, or it has more commercials than we like, or whatever. Now, we will get to the next phase eventually, thank goodness. That's the stability phase, where the general rules of the streaming world will have been worked out. And while it may not be exactly what we thought we were going to get while we were in that honeymoon phase, it's at least acceptable to all involved, at least to a certain extent, right? Pricing will standardize across the industry, quality of content will standardize, that sort of thing. So then as we move forward, what do the more mature phases of this relationship look like with streaming? Well, we'll never know. Streaming will achieve stability, but the relationship phases will end there. And why? Well, because of us, you and me, we will be the ones to end this relationship. The strength and weakness of dynamic capitalism in this case is that we, the viewers, are like serial daters. We're always looking for the next thing to come along. Now that sounds like a bad thing, but the good news is we usually find it. Streaming is way better than cable, which was way better than network-only TV, which was way better than, you get the idea. Now, unfortunately, this isn't always true. If we end up leaving streaming for, say, social media as our primary entertainment source, well, then we're pretty much fucked. Now, I know you have thoughts on all this, so hit the comments. Let me know, what does stability look like for you? What can we look forward to in our relationship with streaming? And as a bonus, please go Google relationship phases and find some of the best one-liners out there. I found this gem that says there is nothing worse than relationship uncertainty. I can think of a thing or two. Anyway, go enjoy that. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed so you can come by every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern for the live streams I do right here on this channel. Love to see you here. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.